Okay, this lesson will be showing you some additional things to set up your scene. Right now you should have the ball that you want to use in your scene, or balls in your scene, and you should have a plane. And let's say, if you want to add another one of these balls, like if you want to add two balls, just do File, Import, and then you can import the animation again, or import the same, say, Ultimate Ball Rig. Import it again, and it will come in right over top of your pass ball. I'm just going to undo that for now. But that's in case you want to have more than one ball in your scene. If for some reason you can't delete that ball, like it's still stuck in your scene, you can go into your outliner and just select it and hit delete. And that should take it out of your scene. So, some of the additional setup for this scene is we're going to create a camera. So let's go to Create, Cameras, Camera. And that puts a camera right at the 000 position. I like to rename my cameras to Render Cam. It's just something I've always done. You can, but it's good to rename everything that you bring into Maya, because otherwise you'll be stuck with Camera 1, Camera 2, and so forth. But right now, let's go to the left side panel, and let's change the layout. The layout meaning the viewport screens that we have here. So I'm gonna right click on any one of these. I'm gonna go to 3 panels, split top. When I do that, everything changes. On the right panel, I want this to be where my render cam is. Panels, perspective, render cam. And you notice it looks all dark and you can't really see what's in the scene. So I'm going to hit, with my mouse over top of this screen, I'm going to hit A. And that just brings up my shot. And since this is the most important camera, I also want this screen to look its best. So I'm going to turn off grid, and I'm going to show my resolution gate. And also, because I don't want these, the NURBS curves in my scene, or in this shot at least, I'm going to turn them off. And to do that, I'm going to turn them off just for this view panel. I'm going to go to Show and uncheck NURBS curves. And also I want to pretty up this shot as well, so I'm going to come and turn on the screen space ambient occlusion. You know, it just puts a little shadow underneath there. The other thing I want to change is my resolution of my screen here. Right now it's set to 960 by 540 as the default. And so I'm going to go up to the render settings and scroll all the way down, and make sure you're in the common tab. The common tab is the same no matter what renderer you're using, Arnold or whatnot. But under the common tab, scroll all the way down till you see image size. Once you're at image size, go to presets and scroll down till you see HD 1080. And this will be the default for all of your animations going forward. Once we're there, you can exit out, and you notice it's already made the change to 1920 by 1080. You can't really see that too well on my screen, but it made the change. And also, I'm going to set up my render camera so that I like the framing of it the most. So right now I'm going to hit space, and it just makes my camera full screen. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to select my camera, and to do that there's a few ways, but there's the quick button right here in the top left. That selects your camera. And you notice it gets selected whenever it turns white around the resolution gate. And under the render cam settings, on the channel box or layer editor, I'm going to select, left click, and drag over everything. Once I do that, I'm going to right click anywhere, and I'm going to go all the way down till it says lock selected. Now once I've done that, I can still select my render cam, but it notices that everything else is grayed out. And I like to do this just because I have a tendency to, when I'm animating, I'll be moving around in my perspective view, and I'll come over and I'll forget that this is my render cam, and I'll start moving it around. And I don't want to be able to move this camera around. I want this to be locked down for this shot, unless it's like a moving shot. But and still, even then, it's really good to lock down your camera, especially your render cam, where you have your perspective here, which can be your free floating, and you'll be looking at all the different angles. But for right now, just for this animation, I'd like you to lock down your render cam. And I'll go back to my viewports. The other thing I want to set up here is I actually want to put this, my background, or the layer here, or whatever, my floor, or if you have any other pieces up in this world that this bouncing ball is going to interact with, I'm going to put this on a display layer. And so to do that, I'm going to have this selected. On the bottom right of my screen, you'll see display tab and anim tab. We want the display, and I'm going to select, create a new layer, and assign selected objects. So whatever I have selected in the viewport here will automatically be put into a layer. Now I know it's in that layer if I can select the V, which is visibility, and it turns it off. So right now I'm just going to call this layer underscore floor and hit save. So now if I don't want to select, if I'm trying to select my pieces and I end up keep selecting this floor, I can turn it to reference, which is the R and the third box over, 1, 2, 3, third box over, the layer floor, and now I will not be able to select anything in that layer. So just another little personal preference for the right side here, I'm actually going to turn off everything but my geometry. So I'm going to go to show, I'm going to click none, and when I did that, everything becomes unchecked. Whoops. Everything becomes unchecked. I also want to turn off manipulators. And again, this is just a personal preference of mine. But and I'll turn on polygons. So now the only thing that's going to be in this window, just this viewport, is what I have here is just the polygon. So I can select this, and it won't show what my animation, it won't show any of these extra controls or manipulators or cameras or anything. It's just going to show exactly what I want animated. So, and after I've made all these changes and little adjustments to my viewport, make sure I'm in viewport 2.0 for this layer panel, I want to save this whole layout so that I can come back and reuse it, and I don't have to keep going back to turning things off. And so to do that, again, on the left side of your screen here, under the panels tab, right click and go to save current layout. It'll give you the option to save the panels, and I'm just going to call this animation. And hit OK. Now, if you're not working on the school's computers, if you're working on your home computer, it'll be able to save to your C drive. But at the school's computers, I don't think you can save it to the C drive, which that's where all these, whenever you save something in here, save a current layout, that's where it's going to. It's going to your C drive, which everything gets wiped out on your C, from what I've understood. And maybe we'll look into, we'll see how, if we can change that around later on in class so you can keep your presets. But for now, you can create an animation tab. So say if you screw up and you go back to this tab where uh, it's not what you wanted. Maybe it'll be this perspective, or maybe you went to the 4 panels and you want to get back to that layout that you have with the perspective, render cam, and graph editor here on the bottom. Just go right click on it and find animation at the bottom. And it'll take you back to your current layout. So in the next lesson, I should be able to get into animation, unless I think of something else that needs to set up for animated shots. But we will be doing pose-to-pose animation with this little bouncing ball guy. Oh, and don't forget to save.